Greetings, my name is BlazeLeeDragon. There is magic and there is magic. And I feel like there is a misinterpretation between the two because the word's used universally. Magic's thrown around left and right when it comes to spiritual energy work. And the reason for that is because of the associations that people typically have with it. There's also a misinterpretation that if you're going to do real magic, that you have to have a robe and you have to have wands and all this other stuff. And technically you don't. That is one style of magic or mysticism. Now, the reason I'm wanting to bring this up is one of the things that has inspired me when I was young is I always thought magic was fascinating. So, of course, I'm like, oh, I want to learn about magic. What is magic? What is this? So I actually started learning how to do tricks. So I mean illusions and basically the appearance of things happening. So making things float or fire, or, just disappearing handkerchiefs, the whole nine yards, the top hat, the classical illusionist or stage performer. And that's what I'm trying to make a distinguish between that and actual real magic or energy work. Because I do want to give a shout out to a channel that I've gotten hooked on recently. Definitely check him out, David Dellman. And I'll probably put a link to his channel below. So now, just ran across his videos like this week. And so far, I've really enjoyed what I've been seeing. He actually has one up which is worth checking out called, actually a lot of them are worth checking out. So, The Magic Wand. And he posted this April 19th, 2019. Now, the reason that I particularly like this video is it actually was along the lines of something I've always wanted to try to delve into more. So I've talked to other folks here on YouTube before that also are either magicians as a performer or are into magic. Now, the term magician itself, to be a practitioner of actual real magic, whether you use the term mage, wizard, druid, witch, there are different terminologies, and trust me, there's way more than that, different languages as well. The name that you use is usually associated with the path or style that you practice. Magician is a very universal, generic term. A wizard actually doesn't have any, as far as I can tell, any historical evidence to suggest that there was people that called themselves wizards. Now, it's in fantasy and books and whatnot, you have it all the time. It's a very common fantasy thing. But I don't believe that I've been able to find any sort of usage of the actual word wizard itself used as an actual people that practiced it. And I could be wrong. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. This is something I enjoy, that I like to research and read about and talk to others about. It's something I have a passion for, as well as, martial arts and tricks and gaming and all the other stuff you find on my videos. So let's get into it. Let's dig into magic versus magic. So the reason I think that there is a misinterpretation with it is when you think of magic, what comes to mind? People flying around on broomsticks, throwing fireballs out of their hand, lightning bolts, Dungeons and Dragons, video games, fantasy, fiction, evil, whatever the case may be, people have conceptions of what they believe magic is without actually practicing it, which that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having observations or opinions on stuff that you've not done. However, I would like to clarify, there are certain things as far as I've seen in research. Now, I was born in 81. I don't have all wisdom or all knowledge, and I never claim to. My research and my study, my practice, I have not seen any evidence that certain feats or abilities in the sense of real magic are possible, that are in fact possible with stage magic, performance magic, illusions, and trickery. And I know in the history of the illusionist, the magician, the practitioner, the performer, there were some who were con artists. They would distract you with a show and people would pick your pockets and things like that. They would also there was individuals who would try to use tricks and illusions to show their magical power, whether that be moving of objects or talking to spirits and having things move. There's a lot of tricks that we as performers do today that people in the olden days would claim as actual magical ability. And I think that to a certain degree, that's where we get a lot of the bad name for real magic from. So things like throwing fireballs I can do that with tricks and illusions. Can't do that with real magic. Real magic, to me at least, and this is my own personal observations, opinions, and studies and research, I believe that real magic has the ability to enhance healing, that has the ability to protect us spiritually, that has the ability to just help nurture us as human beings, to help find inner strength, to put protective shields of energy and vibrations that protect your home and your family and your loved ones, to feel and sense what others are feeling. I believe stuff like this, personally, I believe this stuff is real. I believe this is stuff people are able to do. Moving objects with your mind. And I forgot to bring out my PK wheel. Yes, I have one of the PK wheels. PK as in psychokinesis or telekinesis. Telekinesis and psychokinesis are the two terms used for it, or PK for short, which is moving an object with your mind. I can do this with tricks all day long. The PK wheel is, or psi wheel, you'll get this like needle, and you can make one yourself. You can do it with tinfoil. I have one that was pre-made, and I was going to bring it out, and I completely forgot to grab it before I started filming. And it's probably sitting over there in that bag. But I've experimented with this, and I can move it with my mind. It moves. The theory is it's heat. Okay, that's possible. The experimentation I did suggests that maybe it's a little bit more. However, spinning the psi wheel with my mind and rolling a pen on a table or something, never rolled a pen, never pushed it. Never had that happen, ever. I've tissues, experimented with anything light. Toothpicks, tried. Now, if I lay a toothpick in water, I've seen some movement that, and here's the thing. When it comes to certain phenomenon that you claim as actual real magic, there is always suspect. For example, if you believe you can make the wind blow, which there has been individuals, they do some stuff, wind moves, well, the wind's going to blow anyway. So how do you distinguish or interpret whether or not it's the actual person doing it versus the claim of doing it? So again, certain abilities with real magic, I feel real magic is an energy, it's a vibration, it's a thought. When you have a thought process, it creates this vibration, these waves that come out from you, and I think they can have some influence. However, just like in martial arts with like Tai Chi Chuan, which has a lot to do with manipulating these primal forces and energy, you still have to physically touch the person. You're not going to knock someone down with a chi blast. It's not real. You can do it in movies. I've never seen it. I've studied with actual Tai Chi masters before. I have a black sash in the internal Nidan arts, and as far as I can tell, and even my shifu, who trained me in Tai Chi Chuan, says chi doesn't actually leave the body. There is Qi, Jing, and Shen energies. There's these different types of energies that are used. But again, you have to have physical with physical. That breath, that energy, and that vibration helps to enhance the physical attributes, the mindset, etc., the intent that you're putting through it, the Jing that you generate with your body. But again, I don't want to get too far down into that road. My point is this, is I think because of the stage magic, because of the con artist, people make false assumptions about what magic is capable of doing. And if it was ever able to be done at one time, I have not seen or ran across true evidence that I couldn't explain through trickery that is capable of doing some of these feats. So again, a lot of it comes down to faith and belief. I mean, when it comes to any sort of religion or spirituality or path, whether or not this stuff is working. If you are a religious individual and you go to your priest, priestess, whatever the case may be, and they do some sort of blessing, does that actually do anything? Is there actual physical scientific evidence and proof of it? Probably not. But do you believe it's true? Do you feel something? Do you have a sense of it being real? Yes. So we start to get into the boundaries of faith. Even when it comes to magic and mysticism, even if you're not directly talking about a religion, you're believing or having faith that that is true or real. That's an experience. And there was some talks that I've had with some viewers before. They were talking about, but you can trick your mind into believing stuff. So there's this really big, weird gray realm when it comes to real magic, and I can understand that. But again, that's why some folks don't like to use the term magic, as I'd mentioned. Innuendos or associations with Harry Potter and fake and fictional stuff that really gets to people. So I'm actually going to perform a little tricks and illusions here. So yes, so first and foremost, I'm actually saying with these here, use ring. Going to use a knife. Going to use a lighter here. And so first and foremost, I just want to mention and say, this part is tricks. They are fake. It is an illusion. And typically when you do a performance or show, you don't say that to folks. You want them to believe in the impossible. You want folks to think that you can do certain things and that the real power is in magic, because you want them to enjoy and have that childhood. But because of the purpose of this particular video, I'm going to tell you in advance right now that this is fake stage magic. I guess it's a type of magic in itself. I guess. Oh, crap. Haha, it's been a while. So, yeah. Grabbing flame and turning it into something, and transmutation. Sorry, it's been a while, and yeah. Anyway, so yeah, cool stuff. Or hot stuff, haha. But it's like grabbing and fire and mysticism. So people have this association or thing in their mind of this fascination with flame. So sitting there and grabbing that flame, and then it's a coin, and there's nothing else here. It's just grab the flame, and then you're burning, you're on fire, and it's amazing, and it's a miracle. But I don't know. Like, there are techniques in some of my books that talk about bending a candle flame with your mind, and I think that's possible, and I think that's something that can be done. And I've actually recorded a video for someone once, and we talked about it, and like, well, is the flame actually moving because of the wind, or is it because of you, or is it the air in the room, and is it real, is it possible? But I do want to talk about the fact that I feel like stuff like that, and for me to say, I really grabbed the flame, and there are different ways to present these tricks to suggest that they're real. Another one, so let's talk about this. Everyone knows what this is, right? This is a wand. This is actually my first wand. It's dented. I got this when I was a kid. It's plastic. It's your classic magician's wand. And obviously for these, you can do all sorts of tricks and make things vanish, disappear, or reappear, or, shift from here to there, or whatever else. And this is an example of a wand for stage magic for performances. And then I'm going to turn it a little bit. So let me turn this right here. Can we? A little bit? Yeah, I think we can kind of see. Can we see right about here? We can see right about here. Yeah, so we have, this stage platform, and we have this little shield to hide what you're doing here. And you have your knife, and you have your metal ring here, right? And then you have this little cube. So what we're going to do here, we're actually going to put the ring inside, and then we are going to place it here like this, right? And we're going to take the shield, and we're actually going to put it up over the top of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slide our little knife through. You can see it out on the other side there. And I'm going to cut down. Oh, crap. And I'm going to knock over my whole suitcase. And you can see that it actually penetrated through the metal ring. Again, so it's like, oh, wow, metal through metal, and this stuff is not possible. So why was I bringing up these particular ones? Well, aside from the fact that the elemental aspect of the spiritualities among any path or religion, and there are certain ones, like, for example, using wands or athame is not universal among all the magical practices. There's different divinations. There are different prayers and cleansings and household cleansings and blessings that you can do. It can be associated with a deity or a spirit or the elements themselves. It can be with the earth. There's different paths that you can utilize this energy manipulation or direction through words, through thought, through physical actions, through music, through talking, through lighting candles or incense or stones, using the actual vibrations or energies of these that are supposed to interpret. But stuff like this, so let's talk about the cutting thing first. So this is one example of what sometimes is referred to as an athame. So an athame, or a ritual knife. Now, people typically freak out and be like, oh, that's for cutting. It's not, actually. This here is sometimes associated with flame or fire element. And the reason for that is a blade is forged in fire, and it it creates change. When you cut something, you've changed it. Flame changes stuff. It burns paper to ash, it changes it. It melts wax, it changes it. It melts ice in the water, it turns water into steam, it changes. There creates change. So typically with this, so again, not an exact, but the idea behind utilizing, manipulating what this is capable of doing, and this is pretending to do. I'm pretending to cut through and meld through the ring with metal through metal, versus what this is typically, so the thing that you'll typically, and it depends on your tradition, your practice. So in some practices, they don't use knives at all. Some practices will use a black-handled knife and a white-handled knife, and the white-handled knife is used for cutting herbs and carving things into like candlesticks and stuff. But the black-handled knife never cuts anything. Otherwise, it's impure and it's ruined. So you never ever, you don't draw blood with this, you don't do anything with this. This never cuts anything. This is used symbolically to direct energy. So when you're trying to direct the vibrational energies of fire, that you are pointing with it and you are using it to kind of direct that flow, casting a circle or writing a sigil or rune in the air to draw power, or any sort of symbol, whatever the case may be. And the idea is to get those change powers of flame to ignite or change or bring about your will, whatever the case may be, in your spell work or your spellcraft. So that's one example. But again, its ability to do that is completely suspect, and I get that and I acknowledge that. That doesn't mean I think it's wrong or it's not real. That just means I acknowledge the fact that there's the possibility that it is all in one's head, which I have videos on that as well. Then the other thing I wanted to bring up, of course, so we talked about the wand, and let's talk about some actual wands. So let's talk about some magical wands. This one is just wood itself, and for this one, it's actually maple. So it's silver maple, and the silver maple is actually supposed to be really good for healing. So this is a particular healing wand. This wand here, I don't remember the wood, this one usually has been used for casting protection circles and stuff like this. This one's slightly curved. Then there is also a quartz one. So again, some of these are once more, now these are typically associated with air. And the reason I say that is, like, you'll have ritual associations depending on which practice you're doing. So with air, wisdom, intelligence, trees grow up into the air. Chalice for water, it's a vessel for holding, and like a pentacle disc or rock or stone for foundation, for earth, for strength, for solidity. And then yourself is sort of the association with the fifth element, akasha or spirit energy, which kind of binds them all together. And there, again, there's a whole long story behind these and how they're used, but the wand itself, again, directing, like the athame, to direct the energy to, for your focus or intent to go down, to utilize types of wood, types of vibration, the trees themselves. So in the druid path, you actually have a entire script which is made off of different types of trees. You can actually cut sticks from each of those trees and then use these for divination and throwing down on the ground, depending on how they lie and stuff. You can also write magical script on your wands as well. Each of the trees themselves have different meanings, purpose, vibrations behind them, as do certain herbs, stones, candles, colors, symbols. So there's different reasons and purposes behind what you use, how you use it, and when you use it. So when you get to something like this, what do you typically think of when you think of an old wizard magician, besides for robes, old, maybe long beard? You think of wisdom and age. And when you look at stuff like this, and you look at stuff like this, and you think about the fact that when you're utilizing an actual wand and an actual ritual, and you're moving it, and you're tracing symbols in the air, or you're putting your intent or your will through it, people have this interpretation association with this aged individual. It doesn't even have to be male necessarily, male or female aged individual in these robes, this wise older person, and they're directing these primal forces that we don't even understand, and maybe it's outside and there's lightning, all this stuff going on, and now we bring the illusion of doing the same thing, of directing these primal forces to do this incredible stuff and make things appear or disappear, or ignites things or move things, or whatever the case may be. There's, again, this play acting to represent some of the intent that you saw or saw associations with in the past. I think part of that performance and trickery and stuff like that, when you're doing it for the entertainment's sake, and of course it's got a long history, so there could be many reasons why people did it throughout the years, but I think they're trying to bring about this type of entertainment today. It's all about entertainment and joy and believing in the impossible. Back in the day, maybe some of it was for criminal activity, who knows, or taking advantage of people and just getting money, which is also criminal activity. But yeah, I think because of this, because you see the mirrored play acting, you'll see the same thing in movies and in video games. People will see something in a movie and they assume it's right because that's what the movie said. That's their interpretation of it. They will see people, con artists and people tricking, and they will instantly assume that there is no possible way that any sort of magic or energy work can exist in any way, shape, or form. And some of you might be like, oh, well, show me a demonstration and give me an example of real magic. Well, that's the problem when it comes to real magic. You might as well have me give you an example of what it's like to feel or to sense something. This is a subtle vibration art that is part of how you live your life and interact with the world, and is a different way of taking control of it. And again, like I mentioned, there is interpretation and it's suspect of what is really happening. Is it naturally happening on its own, or is it because of the magic? And then you have ones that are meant to be seen, that are meant to be demonstrated, that are meant to be enjoyed, but we know they're tricks. So yeah, I really genuinely believe that tricks and illusions have skewed people's ability to understand what real magic is capable of and not capable of. Both practitioners that do practice it and some that don't. So you can, of course, have your interpretation on any of it. You can believe that real magic is bullshit. That's fine. You can believe that real magic is capable of doing many of the things that we do with trickery and illusion. But I mainly bring it up as a talking point and a thing to consider. Who knows? Maybe there are people out there who can really throw fireballs without tricks and can really do it with the elemental powers of the primal forces that exist in this world. I've not seen it. I don't know of it myself. So if I was to take this right here and raise it right up into my hand, move it completely with my mind without tricks, if people were capable of doing things like that, you would imagine that it would be slightly more commonplace because of how many people have been drawn to magic and mysticism and fantasy in general, or tricks and play stuff. You would imagine that there would be more people capable of doing it, and perhaps you could present the argument that people hide. There's a fine line between what may or may not be possible. And again, just because one person is not capable of doing it doesn't mean nobody's capable of doing it. But so far, I've seen enough to suggest that, yeah, just because someone might claim they can do it doesn't mean it's something that is actually possible. But then again, at the same time, just because it seems impossible doesn't mean it is. Maybe it's just lack of understanding or lack of exposure. So, I don't know. Post your thoughts below. What do you think as far as real magic versus stage magic? Do you feel that one has influenced the other? Do you think that real magic is possible? What do you think it's capable of? What do you think it's not capable of? What do you think of some of the stereotypes, such as flying on broomsticks or throwing fireballs or lightning bolts? Do you think fantasy has played too much of a role in our modern revival movements? So yeah, post your comments below. Remember to thumb up, like, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon because I'm hoping to do a lot more of these. Thanks for watching.